So this is why we don't have autobahns.
Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche. These cars have made Germany famous for automotive engineering, and they are fast and powerful enough for these equally famous German roads,
my friend.
which are...
Listen, straight away, question for you guys. Let me know in the comment section your favorite car from these three cars. From these three cars, Porsche or Mercedes or BMW. What's your favorite one? I would go with Porsche, but it's super expensive if you compare to BMW and Mercedes. Of course, Mercedes can be expensive also.
Unlike any other in the world, the Autobahn, a national highway system with no top speed limit. If you love cars, chances are driving the Autobahn as fast as you can is one of the things you want to do before you die.
Being able to actually put your vehicle to the test and really show its full potential is the ultimate.
Everything
Okay. I know that on Autobahn you can drive 130 kilometers per hour. This is like allowed speed limit. For people who want to drive faster, they can, but they are risking to put other people under a real danger, okay? And maybe they can get fined for that also, probably.
About the Autobahn owes a lot to Germany's unique and difficult history.
So there's this kind of bizarre Cold War moment when German lawmakers argued that being a free citizen, somebody who is not living in a totalitarian dictatorship, has to be able to drive as fast as they want.
Interesting
So
logic.
why doesn't the US or any other country in the world have an Autobahn? And is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Let's find out today, 2 p.m. on the news.
First things first, what is the Autobahn? The full name is actually Bundesautobahn, which simply
Which means German auto roads.
means federal highway. It is a more than 8,000-mile system of limited access freeways that run all throughout Germany. The word Autobahn is often just translated as motorway. In simple design terms, it's quite similar to freeways in the United States. Limited access means cars and trucks only. No pedestrians, no bicycles, no skateboards, nothing other than cars. There are designated entry and exit points and no stoplights or intersections. The roots of the Autobahn go back all the way to the early 20th century, but really, the first big step in its growth happened under Adolf Hitler. There really was no need for it at all. Few Germans owned cars. Most took public transit, which was plenty fast and got people to where they needed to go.
But probably then they started to create Volkswagen. It was just the people's car. It was like cheap and affordable for like a casual person, as far as I'm concerned.
The Autobahn's
Don't judge me too hard, please.
real potential was as propaganda.
They want to build a sort of a futuristic mega project, something that would lend itself to, talking about the regime as a modern, forward-looking regime. At the same time, while it was, politically speaking, a very repressive, totalitarian dictatorship, right? It was about symbolizing power, the conquest of space.
By the end of World War II, there were less than 4,000 kilometers built, about 2,500 miles.
Okay. 4,000 kilometers. I wonder what is the from one end till another end. If you take from, let's say, north to, let's say, south, how much is gonna be in kilometers, and how many time you need to spend in like in a road with the car to like go through the country?
It was really from the 1960s through the 80s that the Autobahn system we know today was properly developed.
This was obviously a time when the Federal Republic became sort of an affluent Western liberal democracy and also much more of a consumer society. So people actually began to own cars in much higher numbers.
The post-World War II era is also when the Autobahn gained its most famous trait: long stretches with no speed limits. During the Nazi era, the speed limits remained...
Just imagine time when old cars, and you driving this car, and there's no like technologies that we have, safety technologies that we have nowadays, and how many people died during this, like on wet road, on snowy road, going like 200 kilometers. But I doubt that this car could go 200 kilometers though.
Speed limits.
Probably
During
a lot
the
of
Nazi
people.
era, the speed limits were mainly to conserve fuel for the war effort.
The birth of a new free nation for Germany.
Once West Germany became independent and separate from the Communist East in 1949, it kept the Nazi-era speed limits for a few years. But then,
in a really astonishing move, the Federal Parliament in 1952 decides to abolish all speed limits, not just on the Autobahn, but on any kind of highway and in urban areas as well. And you can imagine the results, especially in cities, right?
And the results were AC/DC recording track A Highway to Hell.
With cars going as fast as they want.
crashes, injuries, and fatalities all rose until the government started
For
reinstating
sure.
limits on roads.
Especially with
It
these
mostly
cars.
left the Autobahn alone. Mostly. Today, speed is regulated on about 40% of the motorways. Some limits are fixed, others are dynamic, changing according to conditions. On the rest of the freeway, the recommended speed limit is about 80 miles per hour. That means if you get into a crash at a speed above that, you can be held liable for the accident.
My parents commute regularly from Nuremberg to Munich, and my mom will drive 100 miles an hour, and it's not a big deal.
It's not that unusual
It's not
to
a big deal.
just travel somewhere at 200 kilometers an hour, which is around 125 miles an hour. But
That's a big
all
deal.
things considered, on average, I would say it's probably best to imagine Autobahn traffic somewhat like driving through Texas, maybe, or through Kansas. People don't drive slow. It's quite fast all the way around, but it's not recklessly fast. It's not race car fast.
German race car driver Rudolf Caracciola is still believed to hold the record for the fastest speed ever recorded on the Autobahn, 268.8 miles per hour. But others have come quite close, such as a Bugatti Chiron
Yes,
that
that's
hit
what I wanted to
257
say.
in 2021.
So I have driven a BMW B7. It's an Alpina 600 horsepower sedan. I drove that 170 on the Autobahn. That's the fastest I've driven. It was difficult to
If you go on over 170, your wheels start to shake, man, and your nerves are playing with you also, you know, like bit move to the left, to the right, you're done. You're done. You're dead. Literally dead.
do, by the way.
I'd rather not talk about the fastest I went, even though it's legal to do so. Let's just say I once went 4 towns away from us by accident. I didn't want to go that far, but I was just going a little too quickly.
German automakers don't necessarily make their cars
Accidentally.
specifically for the Autobahn, but the demands of high-speed environments like these highways do influence their engineering decisions and marketing.
Yes,
Mercedes
yes.
refers to their cars as Autobahn proven.
Driving at high speed is not a video game. It should be relaxed cruising. Yeah? And the big challenge for us is controlling the energy in the car, which increases with the square of speed. And that becomes very important at speeds over about, I would say, 60 miles per hour.
It starts with aerodynamic designs, but axles, suspension systems, springs, dampers, roll bars, the tires, the braking systems are all tuned to perform at this level.
We tune the vehicle safety, the comfort and agility, yes, to deliver a typical Mercedes-Benz driving character at high speeds.
Mercedes even has an onboard system designed to keep the car on course when it is hit from the side by a strong gust of wind.
Also, I heard that Mercedes have this blocking speed blocker, something like that, because people, when they buy Mercedes, they go to the, or BMWs, they go to the auto service, and then they ask to chip the board computer so that there's no speed limit. This is what I heard.
With startling events like, for example, powerful wind gusts. So our aim is to keep the car stable and safely on course at high speed without permanent steering corrections, while damping out bothersome chassis motions. And the car will always support the driver by being tolerant of mistakes.
To understand why Germany is basically the only country in the world with a mostly unregulated highway like this, it is probably best to look at what makes Germany's driving laws and car culture so different from, say, the supposedly freedom-loving United States.
Okay.
First of all, it's a lot harder to drive a car in general in Germany. You can't get a license in the country until the age of 18. In the US, the law varies, but in most states, people can obtain learner's permits at 15 and
This is
receive
crazy.
licenses allowing them to drive legally under at least some conditions by the age of 16.
But in Germany, kids can drink beer. What about that, America? Ha!
It is also far more expensive and challenging to obtain a license. Many hours of instruction are required and the tests are demanding.
It's much more difficult, it's more expensive. You know, a lot of people fail their driving tests, myself included.
Fees for a license and all of the associated instruction in Germany can run 2,500 to 3,500 euros.
Crazy
when
money,
you add up
crazy.
the costs. The fee for a driver's license in the state of California is $45, but that state, as is common in the US, requires driver education classes as well. Then, the certification process for your car in the country is also extremely stringent.
I had to get my 500 euro minivan through it. It was not easy. And that sort of makes the Autobahn feel safer. You know you're surrounded by cars that have been rigorously checked.
Okay.
A lot of cars here
Yes.
in the States, especially in the Rust Belt, would probably not be fit for the Autobahn.
Having such barriers in the US would really limit the number of people and cars who can drive in a country that is right now far more car dependent than Germany is.
Just quick ad. Here in Latvia, it costs around 40 euros one driving lesson. Also, you have to go to school and sit for 40 hours and learn like theory, and then you have to pass it in the central car like control place. Yes, and overall it's pretty expensive here in Latvia. It costs around like 1,500 to get the license, something like that. I made it from the fifth time, man. I never give up. I go to the end, man.
Americans drive about twice as much as Germans.
Germany is a much more urbanized country. There's lots of people who live in major cities who don't even have a driver's license. They get around using public transit and use rail.
Then there is the
Or car
cost of
sharing.
this. A lot of engineering goes into keeping these motorways drivable at these speeds. The pavement is extremely smooth and is more or less constantly maintained. That's expensive. The German government spends 5 times more on the Autobahn than it does on its other federal highways.
If you look at the average American freeway or interstate, you will usually just find concrete surfaces. And in Germany, it's way more intricate than that. You can drive through the pouring rain on modern strips of Autobahn that were recently redone, and you don't have any spray whatsoever. You can travel at very high speeds through the pouring rain, and that is no issue at all.
Though the US population is far larger than Germany's, building up a highway
Oh, Germany has 84 million. That's a lot of people.
system that could realistically handle
If you compare it to Latvia have 1.5 million. That's like nothing.
such high speeds would require much investment, and US infrastructure suffers both criticism and financial insecurity. The thing is, Tracy says, Americans might not be missing as much as they think they are.
I have found that the reality is it's a little bit anticlimactic in a way. It's just not quite what you want it to be.
Just because there is no speed limit doesn't mean you will always be able to drive fast. Across Germany, there were about 516,000 traffic jams in a single year. And the number of hours Germans spend in traffic has been rising. Several highways had traffic jams that were longer than 40 miles.
Man, traffic jams can take best of us. Literally, I see people break during traffic jams. I seen people who were like calm all their life break during the traffic jams. It's terrible. Let me know in comment section, do you like traffic jams or not?
It's under construction a lot. It makes sense. If you have an unrestricted highway, it has to be perfect. You can't have a deep pothole like in Detroit where I used to live. If you had one of those potholes on the Autobahn, you'd see cars getting air.
Germany's Autobahns are also major thoroughfares for international commerce.
Germany is kind of right smack dab in the center there of Europe. It's sort of this connector between East and West, even North and South. So you see a lot of commerce. A lot of trucks are traveling on that Autobahn, and they are not fast.
If you come to Germany and expect a large and vast countryside and you can go wherever as fast as you like, then you might get disappointed because it's quite crowded and we have large cities.
The absence of speed limits on German motorways divides even German opinion. Polls have shown that a slight majority of Germans favor introducing a hard limit on the Autobahn for safety reasons
Why
and to help
not?
the country
Yes,
hit environmental
yes.
goals. Speed does worsen the severity of crashes and raises the risks of injuries and deaths. That's
130 kilometers an hour is enough. I think it's enough just to make it, from point A to point B and not crash. Like, if you go above, it's already dangerous, I think. 110 is already, that's a lot.
said, most of Germany's vehicle fatalities happen on rural roads, followed by urban ones. The share of motorway fatalities is also smaller than those in some other OECD countries, such as Slovenia, Luxembourg, and Belgium.
I guess there's studies.
Hey, where's Latvia? Wait, where's Latvia? I want to see. Was there Latvia? Latvia, where are you? Lithuania is and Latvia isn't?
Of motorway fatalities is also
Bro,
smaller than those
I'm
in some other
sad.
OECD countries, such as Slovenia,
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg,
Even
and
Luxembourg.
Belgium.
I guess there's studies supporting each side of that argument, but the numbers don't lie. You don't have much differences in fuel consumption, for example. It just doesn't make a whole lot of difference to drive 130 kilometers per hour or keep it open. And you also have to consider the fact that we don't always travel at full speed all the time.
There are also
Mhm.
strict rules. The left lane is for passing. Unlike highways in many other countries, you
Wait. Left lane is for passing? There is 2 left lanes. Which one from both of them? Tell me, guys. I want to know. Both of them are for passing, or only like this lane on the left, and these are just like neutral lanes.
cannot pass on the right. If someone is behind you in the left lane, you have to move over. Tailgating is a serious offense that comes with heavy fines.
It's also for everybody a high responsibility. So that's why we are not allowed to pass on the right lane. You have to also adapt your speed.
Statistically speaking, autobahns are safer than other roads, but that mostly has to do with the fact that there's only cars and only trucks. I mean, there are people who literally are afraid to drive on the Autobahn because of the lack of a speed limit.
In like manner, the data on how much introducing a speed limit would reduce carbon pollution has met with skepticism, though some recent numbers suggest it might be more than previously believed.
Anybody who owns an electric car will tell you, when they go fast on the highway, their range plummets. BMW i3, which was developed right there in Munich. And that car, I can drive it in the city and I'll go 180 miles in the city on a charge. But on the freeway, I'll do 115.
So in many ways, Americans envious of these German speedways might be missing out on a bit of fun, but it might also be true they are envious of something that is more myth than reality.
I think a lot of Americans probably would travel to Germany, they'd get a fast car and they'd say, woo-hoo-hoo, let's do it. And then they'd be stuck behind a truck in traffic and they'd be like, what the heck's going on? It is not a racetrack, but every now and then, the right stretch of the Autobahn and the right time of day and the right car, you can reach automotive nirvana.
Okay. Yeah, so what do you think about Autobahn? Is it necessarily? What about speed limits? Do you guys support increasing of the speed limits, or maybe like lowering the speed limits on the Autobahn? Here in Latvia, we drive the fastest is 120 kilometers outside Riga. Yes, but some people go 200. But when they get caught, the license goes straight away through the window because police don't mess with them. They catch them. As for me, as I said before, 130 kilometers per hour, pretty good speed to travel, and I don't need more. I'm just a kind of person, just like I love like calmness. Okay, 130 kilometers, or maybe one woman for life. Maybe, I don't know, wearing one sweater or t-shirt for life, This is what I do. This is what I can buy a mobile phone. I use it for 10 years while it's alive, The same with speed, with the cars, with everything. it's fine for me. I'm not like a junkie who wants, you know, speed 200 kilometers per hour after, you know, where it's allowed 130, you know. So yeah, for me, it's like that. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Leave your suggestions what to react next. Probably I'm gonna add a link. Okay, so don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Let's go, guys.